In the remote wilderness of Siberia, a young man named Colin Madsen stepped out of a cabin in the dead of night and vanished without a trace. 8 days later, he was found, lying in a silent forest clearing, untouched by the wild. But instead of answers, his discovery only sparked fear and a trail of haunting questions. What happened during those 8 days? What or who was waiting for him in that forest? Tonight, we explore one of the most chilling unsolved disappearances in recent history, and a trail of questions the Russian government would rather you forget. This is the mysterious case of Colin Madsen. Just a note before we start. At Dread Ember, we delve into true stories of the strange, the terrifying, and the unexplained. From real-life paranormal encounters and haunted places to unsolved mysteries and chilling disappearances, each tale told in an immersive, atmospheric detail. Perfect for late-night listening, long drives, or when you're lying in bed with the lights low, if you dare. Every story is rooted in truth, researched deeply, and crafted to stir your imagination. We upload new dark tales weekly, and it's totally optional to like and subscribe and let the coldest corners of the unknown haunt your thoughts. Now, let's get back to today's story. In 2016, 4 friends embarked on what was supposed to be a simple adventure. One night in a rustic cabin near the forests of a small Russian village, followed by a hike up a nearby mountain at dawn. They had done this before, countless times, and were no strangers to the rugged Siberian terrain. But this time, something was different. Something was watching. March 27th started like any other trip. The friends packed their gear, drove into the village, and found their modest little cabin tucked away at the forest's edge. The wooden structure was basic, just enough to shield them from the elements. There was no indoor plumbing, only a weathered outhouse standing a short distance away. The air was crisp, the scent of pine thick, and the night ahead promised camaraderie and adventure. Colin Madsen, an American student who had fallen in love with Siberia's raw beauty, was particularly excited. A lover of adventure, he had embraced the Russian wilderness like a second home. He was fluent in Russian, had many local friends, and had built a deep connection to the region. His passion for nature and the outdoors made him the perfect companion for such a trip. His companions, all fellow students and seasoned hikers, were just as eager to explore. As the evening set in, the group sat around the small fireplace, sharing stories, laughing, and planning their hike for the following morning. Outside, the night was quiet, too quiet. The wind, which had been whispering through the trees earlier, had died down completely. The usual distant howls of wolves and rustling of nocturnal animals were absent. Yet, none of them seemed to notice. The group talked late into the night before finally turning off the lights and drifting into sleep. But outside, in the dense, moonlit forest, an unseen presence lingered, fixated on the cabin's door, anticipating the moment when someone, anyone, would step outside. The morning of March 28th arrived with a strange stillness. The air was colder than expected, and the silence felt unnerving. At around 5 a.m., the friends stirred awake, ready to prepare for their hike. But something was wrong. One bed was empty. Colin Madsen was gone. At first, the group wasn't too worried. They assumed he had simply stepped out, perhaps to the outhouse or to get some fresh air. But as minutes turned into an hour, and he still had not returned, unease crept in. His belongings remained untouched. His phone, wallet, and hiking gear were still in the cabin. There were no signs of struggle, no disturbance in the cabin's interior. It was as if he had simply vanished into the darkness. The cabin door was closed but unlocked. Outside, faint footprints in the soft soil led a short distance before disappearing abruptly, as though Colin had been plucked from the ground. The friends searched the surrounding area, calling out his name, their voices swallowed by the endless forest. Desperate, they left a note on the cabin door instructing Colin to stay put if he returned before rushing to the nearest police station. The authorities were skeptical at first. People wandered off all the time in the wilderness. But as the hours passed with no sign of Colin, a full-scale search was launched. The Russian emergency services mobilized search teams, combing the dense forest, while helicopters surveyed the rugged terrain. Volunteers from the village and university students joined in the effort. They scoured the surrounding area, but the search yielded nothing. No footprints, no torn clothing, no signs of an animal attack. It was as if the forest had swallowed him whole. Days passed. Then, a chilling discovery. 8 days later, on April 4th, searchers stumbled upon a disturbing scene. A mile from the cabin, in a small clearing surrounded by thick pines, Colin's body lay on its back, arms splayed out, fists tightly clenched. His hands and wrists bore abrasions, as if he had been forcibly restrained. Similar marks adorned his neck, hinting at something far more sinister than an accidental fall or exposure. His clothing was torn in several places, but curiously, his socks were missing, a disturbing detail given his history of ankle surgery, which made it painful for him to wear boots without them. More unsettling was the state of his body. Despite being missing for over a week in the cold Siberian wilderness, there was minimal decomposition. His wounds appeared fresh, as if he had died mere hours before being found. This wasn't the body of someone who had succumbed to the elements. This was the body of someone who had been alive for days, only to meet a violent end just before he was discovered. Authorities quickly turned their focus to Colin's friends, suspecting foul play. But their alibis checked out, and polygraph tests confirmed their innocence. With no other suspects, officials hastily ruled Colin's death as hypothermia, possibly induced by alcohol or drugs. Case closed. But his parents refused to accept this explanation. Determined to uncover the truth, they sought an independent review of the Russian autopsy. What they found painted an even darker picture. An American forensic lab determined that Colin had not died from exposure. He had been suffocated, murdered. There were no significant levels of alcohol or drugs in his system, aside from trace amounts of THC from days prior, far too little to have impaired him. The evidence suggested something far more terrifying. Colin had been held captive for nearly a week before he was killed and placed in the clearing where he was found. Speculation ran wild. Some suspected the Russian government. Colin had previously participated in an environmental protest and had received a warning from police. Could he have been targeted? But if so, why wait 8 days? Why deposit his body so close to the cabin, ensuring immediate suspicion? Others believed something even more sinister was at play. Something ancient. Something that had been watching the cabin that night. A force hidden within the depths of the Siberian wilderness, preying on the unsuspecting. Could it have been something supernatural? Siberia is home to countless legends of forest spirits, shadowy entities that lure travelers to their doom. Some whisper of creatures unseen, beings that take what they desire, leaving behind only questions and fear. Or was it something even more horrifying? A secretive group, hiding in the vast forests, taking those who unknowingly crossed into their domain? Reports of missing persons in the area weren't uncommon. Could Colin have fallen victim to something much darker? Something that had been waiting in the woods that night? To this day, Colin's case remains officially closed in Russia. His parents are left without answers, and we are left with the same haunting questions. What truly happened to Colin Madsen in that dark Siberian forest? Who, or what, was waiting for him when he stepped outside? Perhaps we will never know. Colin vanished into a forest he knew better than most, and never came back the same. Whatever found him out there, it's still a mystery. And maybe it still is lurking in the forest.